So the ship is finished. The births of Jacob and Joseph are mentioned. The company embarks from the promised land, for the promised land. The sons of Ishmael and their wives join in revelry and rebellion. Nephi is bound, and the ship is driven back by a terrible tempest. Nephi is freed, and by his prayer, the storm ceases. The people arrive in the promised land. Okay. Wow, a lot happens. They finish the boats. Lehi has more sons that are mentioned. They go into the boat. Some rebellion happened. It gets crazy. They try to kill Nephi again, unfortunately. Man, they're coming after Nephi a lot. So he's got a lot of patience and faith. This is incredible. All right, so let's break this down as simple as possible. I'm going to kind of explain what's happening and explain definitions, or we'll look up definitions together if it's kind of confusing. All right, let me get a drink of water, because I'm about to go in deep. By the way, if you're watching this in the future live, ask any questions. If you don't believe this and you want to tell me why it's not true, I would ask you not to, because I've heard it all, and I've still decided to believe. But if you want, you can. But obviously, I do this, so there's nothing that you can that's out there that would shake my faith. I believe wholeheartedly, not because of what I saw, but because of the Spirit that I feel. So anyway. And it came to pass that they did worship the Lord and did go forth with me. And we did work timbers of curious workmanship. And the Lord did show me from time to time after what manner I should work the timbers of the ship. Okay, so they're making the boat, and it's curious workmanship because Nephi's never made a boat. So, sure, it's very curious to him. And most to us, it's probably not. This says that it's not built after the manner of men, as it says right here. Now I, Nephi, did not work the timbers after the manner which was learned by men. Neither did I build the ship after the manner of men, but I did build it after the manner which the Lord had shown unto me. Wherefore, it was not after the manner of men. So he's like, this boat does not look like any other boat that you guys have probably seen. It was made by God. So who knows what this ship looks like, but sure, it was awesome. And I, Nephi, did go into the mount often, that means often, everybody, often, and I did pray often unto the Lord. Wherefore the Lord showed unto me great things. So he keeps on going to the mountain to talk to God. The mount, and in the scriptures, mountains are symbolic of like high places where you can, well, technically, it's like literally a high place, but it is also symbolic of going higher so you can talk to God, get closer to heaven. And it came to pass that after I finished the ship, according to the word of the Lord, my brethren beheld that it was good, and that the workmanship thereof was exceedingly fine. Wherefore they did humble themselves again before the Lord. Well, of course, I'm assuming his brothers that want to try to kill him multiple times, after they see the fruits of the labor that Nephi tells them to do, after they see the miracles, they humble themselves, but sometimes they forget. So, but I'm assuming after they see this beautiful boat, let's see whatever it looked like, after they see this beautiful boat, they're like, wow, okay, we did it. We did it, guys. And it came to pass, well, God did it, right? And this is amazing. And it came to pass that on the morrow, after we had prepared all things, much fruits and meat from the wilderness, and honey in abundance, and provisions according to that which the Lord had commanded us, we did go down into the ship with all our loading and our seeds, and whatsoever things we had brought with us, every one according to his age. Wherefore, we did all go down into the ship with our wives and our children. All right, they're all getting ready to go in the ship. And the ship I should put here in the water. They're all getting ready. And now my father had begat 2 sons in the wilderness. The elder was called Jacob, and the younger Joseph. Don't you guys love that? That Lehi is so faithful, he names his sons Jacob and Joseph. After Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Jacob later changed his name to Israel, the house of Israel, and one of his sons was Joseph. Joseph in the Technicolor Dreamcoat, if I believe that's what they called it, the coat that his brothers were envious of. Lehi names his sons after them. And it came to pass, after we had all gone down into the ship, and had taken with us our provisions and things which had been commanded us, we did put forth into the sea, and were driven forth before the wind toward the promised land. Okay, so where are they going? I believe the route was this. They went from this area over here. I don't know if they went this way. It doesn't really matter. But they did go forth into the promised land. And what is the promised land? God has prepared the Americas throughout history. If you read the Book of Mormon, he has prepared this land to be a promised land. It says it all throughout the Book of Mormon, and I believe it. America is beautiful. Canada's beautiful. The Americas are beautiful. Rich and prosperous area. And after we had been driven forth before the wind for the space of many days, behold, here it comes, everybody. Behold, my brethren, the sons of Ishmael, and also their wives began to make themselves merry. Oh, no. Insomuch that they began to dance and to sing and to speak with much rudeness. So look, dancing and singing is not bad, but it says it was done with much rudeness. Yea, even that they did forget by what power they had been brought thither. Yea, they were lifted up into exceeding rudeness. Oh, my gosh. Look, they already forgot. They're on a boat that's made of curious workmanship, a boat that is not made by unto the manner of any man, and they're already forgetting. They're forgetting by the power of which this happened. Man, as you guys, if you're just tuning in right now to this video or this stream, you're probably like, why are you so impatient with these people? If you've read chapters 1 through up until this point, started from the beginning, they forget all the time. They're always forgetting what's happening. So it's kind of frustrating to see that they're seeing all these miracles and they're forgetting. But hey, it probably happens. It happens to us too in life. We see so many miracles and yet we forget, right? History is bound to repeat itself. Why? Because we don't remember. We don't remember God and what we do, right? Like America, if you just look at America, because I'm American, I live in Canada right now, but even Canada, it was built on God, right? And God we trust, it was a Christian nation, and now it's turning away from that. Many people don't even remember, the Constitution or why America was colonized. It was colonized because of freedom. They wanted freedom of religion. The people in this area of England and the Gentiles all came because they wanted to believe the way they wanted. But we forget. That's why we have to remember history and read. That's why the scriptures are so important, is because they help us remember God's word and how he acts. But anyway, they probably weren't reading their scriptures or the brass plates on the boat if they forgot already. Now look, let's dive into some definitions, because it says that they began to make merry, and so much they began to dance and all that stuff. So that's not a big deal, but it says that they did it in rudeness. So let's kind of see what rudeness meant in the 1828 dictionary when Joseph Smith translated the golden plates. Let's see if what it meant back then. A rough, broken state, unevenness, wildness, as the rudeness of a mountain. Okay, wildness is a good word, but maybe there's a different one. Coarseness of manner, incivility, rusticity, vulgarity. Ooh, they're being vulgar. They're being coarse. Ignorance, unskillfulness, artlessness, coarseness, inelegance, as the rudeness of a painting. Violence, impetuosity, and the rudeness of an attack or shock. Violence, storminess, or the rudeness. Okay, so they're just acting wild. They're acting crazy, okay? And they're dancing. Who knows if they're twerking? I'm not going to get into what kind of dancing it was, but it doesn't seem like it was good. And the only reason I'm going deep into this is because, Nephi makes a big point that they already forgot. And I, Nephi, began to fear exceedingly, lest the Lord should be angry with us and smite us because of our iniquity, that we should be swallowed up in the depths of the sea. Wherefore I, Nephi, began to speak to them with much soberness, but behold, they were angry with me. They're mad with him again because he tries to get them to calm down and remember the Lord their God, saying, we will not, this is what they say, we will not that our younger brother shall be a ruler over us. My goodness. Can you believe it? What does soberness mean? This is how Nephi talked to his brethren. Freedom from intoxication, temperance. Okay, we all know that Nephi, this is not talking about if he was drunk or not. Gravity, seriousness. Freedom from the heat. Okay, so he was talking to them with some gravity and some seriousness. He's like, look, I'm talking to you guys with some seriousness. You need to stop. And they're like, you will not be a ruler over this younger brother. My goodness, how prideful. Now look, Nephi's worried because as they're traversing these waters, as they're going through these waters, he's like, dang, we're on a boat in the middle of the ocean, and who knows if God is going to be upset with us and we're going to get swallowed up in the waters in like a wave or something. He was worried because he knows of the power of God. And it came to pass that Laman and Lemuel did take me and bind me with cords. Oh, gosh. And they did treat me with much harshness. Nevertheless, the Lord did suffer it, that he might show forth his power unto the fulfilling of his words, which he had spoken concerning the wicked. Man, they treated him with much rudeness, harshness. Guys, they were being mean. They tied him up with strong cords. Now, look, the Lord suffers. He suffered it that it might happen. And many bad things happen in this life. Why? Because sometimes the Lord can warn and guide and basically command and say, hey, do this. But if we don't listen, he's going to let the consequences just play out. It's not like he makes these things happen. It's just the consequences of sin and consequences of action. And it's going to see that, and this happens, so the fulfilling of his word, which has been spoken concerning the wicked, comes to pass, right? Because he warns people, and if they don't do what he says, the warning comes true. And it came to pass that after they had bound me, insomuch that I could not move, the compass which we had been prepared of the Lord did cease to work. Guys, so in chapter, I believe it was 15, they find a compass on their journey, and it just appears in front of Lehi's tent, and the compass is powered by faith. So this compass is guiding them on their way to the ship, but it's powered by faith. So if they stop acting righteously, the compass stops. And that's why it says, the compass which had been prepared did cease to work, because they're not being righteous. The brothers aren't. Wherefore, they knew not whither they should steer the ship. You think they would stop after that, be like, oh, the compass has stopped. Maybe it's because we tied up our brother. But they don't. They're not very intelligent. Insomuch that there arose a great storm, yea, a great and terrible tempest, and we were driven back upon the waters for the space of 3 days. Okay, so they use the number 3 a lot in the scriptures. Does that technically mean 3 days? It could, but it also could just mean a long time. All right, the space of 3 days, and they began to be frightened, exceedingly lest they should be drowned in the sea. Nevertheless, they did not loose me. So for 3 days, Nephi is bound. Oh my gosh, that's a long time to be bound in cords. Man, hopefully they were feeding him or someone was feeding him. This is tragic. And on the 4th day, okay, so this seems like really actually 3 days, because he's being pretty specific. He says, on the 4th day, which we had been driven back, the tempest began to be exceedingly sore. Okay, what does that? I think you guys know what exceedingly sore means, but I'm going to look it up for you. Let's see, tender, susceptible to pain, tender, affected, inflammation, violent, severe, violent, as a sore conflict. Yes, okay, so it became exceedingly violent. This is a crazy storm, guys. And it came to pass that we were about to be swallowed up in the depths of the sea. So Nephi's, when he was exceedingly frightened, I guess he had a reason to be frightened, because they're about to be swallowed up in the depths of the sea. And after we had been driven back upon the waters for the space of 4 days, he's tied up and they're being driven back in this crazy storm. My brethren began to see that the judgments of God were upon them. Okay, 4 days of being in a crazy storm. Now the brothers are like, okay, maybe we made a bad decision again. Come on, guys. And judgments of God were upon them, and that they must perish, save that they should repent of their iniquities. Iniquities are sins. Wherefore they came unto me, and loosed the bands which were upon my wrists, and behold, they were swollen exceedingly, and also my ankles were much swollen, and great was the soreness thereof. I love how Joseph Smith, I love how this is translated, because Joseph Smith didn't write this, and if he did write this, he had a very interesting way of expressing himself, but I don't believe he did write it. But Nephi also has a very interesting way of expressing himself. He's like, man, I was loosed up. I was tied up for 4 days. When they let me go, my wrists, my ankles were swollen, and the soreness, and great was the soreness thereof. He's like, oh man, great was that soreness. I would have just been like, hey, it really hurt. But no, he had to give us, great was the soreness thereof. Nevertheless, I did look unto my God, and I did praise him all the day long, and I did not murmur against the Lord because of mine afflictions. Nephi is faithful. Just tied up for 4 days. His brothers already tried to kill him multiple times. They beat him with a rod. The list goes on of how they've treated him, and they've called him a fool. And instead of murmuring and complaining and saying, God, why have you allowed this to happen to me? He goes and he praises. He looks unto God and he praises him all the day long once he's loosed. What a great example, okay? Can we follow that example? I hope so.